Hi everyone, my name is Gemma.
My name is Simran. And my name is Lauren. And we're going to be talking about the painting Subway Steps from 1926 by Pène du Bois.
4 years ago, I traveled to Korea to visit my family. Although I can understand Korean, I was born in Tennessee and my primary language is English. Traveling to Korea felt extremely daunting, particularly because I could not speak the native tongue well, and as a result, I felt helpless and lacked autonomy. I could not advocate for myself and often felt like an outsider in what should have been a place I felt most at home. It felt like I was stuck in between my extroverted and introverted self, my true personality, and one tailored to appease the judgments of those around me.
For me, that same feeling of being stuck in between showed up when I felt torn between the extremely small school I had attended for 10 years back home in Michigan and attending the boarding school of my dreams in Andover. So many people weighed in, discouraging me from leaving, and it was extremely difficult to decide what would be best for me. It felt like I had to see a future I could never predict.
And I noticed a similar feeling when planning for my future, picking out colleges. Throughout my life, I've always had a number of interests. And up until my senior year of high school, I always had the option to pursue all of them. It wasn't until I was planning for college that I realized I would have to choose one. I found myself stuck in between, unable to decide what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
We were all reminded of these stories and about being stuck in between when talking about the painting Subway Steps. Created in 1926 by Pène du Bois, Subway Steps depicts two women in high fashion walking down the steps to the subway below. This simple action captures a moment of fluidity as these women pass between two undefined, unknown, and unseen places. The uncertainty of this scene is further emphasized in the shadows of the women. At first glance, they are barely in contact, only through the slight touch of an arm, yet their shadows behind them blend into a single entity. For us, this contradiction builds tension within the piece, through not only its ambiguous and divergent characteristics, but also due to the attire of the woman on the right. Her figure is highly detailed and accentuates much of her physique, but her dress balances on the border of complete transparency. These details ultimately reveal a state of indefiniteness, and to an extent, unpredictability. These two women are stuck in between the past, the present, and the future, walking on the thin line between what is certain and what is unknown.
Throughout the description, we see this idea of Pène du Bois being stuck between a multitude of different aspects of his life, and through that, his art. Pène du Bois was an American painter born in New York during the 20th century. However, he was born to a French family, descended from French immigrants, and visited France many times. This raises the question of how Pène du Bois expresses these differences of culture and location in his artwork. It's important to notice that he painted this when he was living in France. But what life, people, and setting is he depicting? France or New York? No matter the location, the depictions of the two women in common flapper fashion can be easily recognized, as they are adorned in the rebellious style of straight, shapeless dresses with cut hair and a cloche hat to match. This fashion came as a response to the ever-changing social roles of women who started working, voting, and expressing their opinion. It was a form of protest against the patriarchal domination of the previous years. The new silhouettes of the dresses broke them free from tight hourglass figures of the past. The short and shapeless character made them less appealing to men and more functional for women, as they allowed for greater freedom of movement. And the short hair rejected the previous labor-intensive long hair and allowed women to be more androgynous. Pène du Bois' skill of capturing social interaction shows the in-between of life for these two women, as they balance between newly found freedom and the repressive nature of the past. Even their relationship to each other, and the in-between in regards to their movement from one location to another, as one woman leads the other down the stairs. It leads us to wonder who these women are, where they are going, what they are to each other, even what they're talking about. Instead of painting the women leaving one location or arriving at another, Pène du Bois specifically chose to show them in transition, two women unchaperoned as they navigate the emerging independence of the 1920s.
Pène du Bois was very attached to realism, almost stubbornly so, as it was an old tradition that he was trained in and held an affinity for. Yet, as time passed, realism was no longer what was most popularly painted. Realism aimed to depict everyday objects with objective accuracy. Prevalent styles of the 20th century featured cubism, a flat, abstract style where objects are broken down into geometric shapes and shown from multiple angles. Fauvism, an avant-garde movement featuring passionate brush movement and unnatural color. Expressionism, a modernist movement that, like Fauvism, prioritized the emotions of the human experience over abject reality. And Impressionism, a movement that focused on capturing fleeting moments and the role of light. Still, Pène du Bois created his own niche, a style mirroring American social realism, sleek, sculptural, detached figures that represented the current society. He was very authentic in how he wanted to depict his art, focusing on human interaction and societal structures. It was said he learned most from the streets, cities, and societal clubs he visited, as opposed to studios, displaying that he valued his subjects just as much, if not more than, his artistic technique. Because of this, there's real depth of understanding of what seems like a simple interaction in subway steps. Pène du Bois also always factored in class to his work, painting highly fashionable people in areas renowned for their exclusive connotation, like Fifth Avenue in New York City. The writer Catherine Beach Ellie once said, "He sees with the eyes of a sophisticated cosmopolitan. Even in subway steps, we are seeing an indoor scene. And both women are entering the subway instead of walking to their destination, a convenience only the wealthy often had."
Pène du Bois' work, however, can be best characterized by his struggle with having a dual identity. As an American native of French descent, he often felt the pull of two worlds. He lived and created art in France for many years, and as a result was said to suffer an identity crisis in his return to America. Pène du Bois himself once said, "Most painters write life down with an eraser. They are afraid that life might complicate their art," highlighting his desire to depict life in its most genuine and real form. Ultimately for us, Pène du Bois' approach to facing complicated and difficult life paths is one that has inspired us greatly. His belief that we should embrace our imperfections, rather than reflecting upon certain experiences negatively, has made us collectively think differently about our moments of hesitation. These are the experiences that define our character and allow us to grow into more interesting, meaningful people. For me, I realized this when I returned to Korea a few months ago, where instead of constantly fearing that I did not belong, I took the leap and asserted myself through small conversations to learn more Korean. And now, when I look at subway steps, I regard this feeling of uncertainty as a sign of change and growth to come.
In the end, I decided to attend boarding school and stayed true to my wishes. I am happy that I was able to come to a decision that I now look back on with pride. Being in between was a difficult moment, a feeling that Pène du Bois captured in subway steps, the melancholy of leaving one place to exist in another that was influenced by his own life. However, it is important to remember that every moment passes, no matter how painful. The moment that the two women in subway steps existed in on Pène du Bois' canvas is what we are left with, but it is just as central to their story that they kept walking on.
Eventually, I had to press submit on those college applications. And what I learned is that, similar to sentiments Pène du Bois expresses in subway steps, I didn't necessarily have to choose between my passions. Just like the two women passing from one location to another, I found ways that I can incorporate it all into my life. I found schools with a variety of departments and opportunities. I found ways where I didn't have to choose.